I'm Euro,
I'm Chris.
and this is Fork Bomb. April 10th, 2020. And we actually don't really have a title for this. We will come up with it, though. While we talk, we will come up with a title to this episode.
We're going to talk about our... where are my manners? Good evening, Euro.
Howdy, Chris. How you doing?
Good. You?
Good. How are you? How are you liking the state of working from home and being at home and staying home?
I don't want to talk about it.
Wow, like that. Okay, well,
it's good. I'm shut in, but I have really good company, and it's a good place to be.
Okay, well, for the folks in the future, we're here in the past when this whole COVID-19 thing is going on. So we're all stuck at home, and I realized something. I don't really go out much, so this isn't really affecting me all that much. I mean, yeah, it sucks that that I don't really have anywhere to go, but then I'm like, would I have gone anywhere anyway? Yeah, so I'm kind of a hermit, and this just hasn't really made my life a whole lot different. So yeah, I'm actually okay with it. But I don't live in a big city, so I just that's kind of boring here. So yeah. So Chris, what were we going to talk about today?
Are something we didn't have to research.
Yay! So we get to talk about our retro machines. I read your mind.
There is no way
that we don't
have
to research it, then it's definitely going to be about our retro rigs.
There is no way that we previously discussed this before recording.
Oh, these are the fun ones. Either that or whoever's listening and has listened to the first podcast and all the way to now, they definitely see our degradation of quality.
I've reduced the editing down to half an hour.
Yeah. The goal is to not edit. Just upload.
I guess we should. I guess everyone has a different definition of what a retro machine is. So, what do we consider retro? How old?
The real deal. The bare metal.
And is it based on time, or is it based on sentimentality and nostalgia?
Ooh, you know what? I never really thought about that because I'm seeing. So I'm in a lot of retro groups in Facebook. It's typically where I post our podcast, everything, and I'm seeing some younger folks that are saying, "Oh yeah, my first my first video game console was the PS2, and oh yeah, it's so old now," and that just makes me feel older. But you're right, that could be retro to them. So it's all on perspective. But for the sake of keeping things easy and everything, I'm gonna say that a true retro rig for me anyway would be something like a 386, 486 and below. That to me is that definite retro vintage territory. I know some people will say that no, well, you got the trash 80s, and those things were retro, and yes, and we've talked about it. We've have episodes on that, and we fully understand. However, I think that if you were to ask anybody if a 486 or a 386 machine is retro, they're most likely going to say yes. I would have a hard time believing that somebody's going to say, no, that's too modern. So we're keeping that in mind. I just realized I don't have a retro rig then. I have a new Fandangle modern gaming rig. But yeah, so people still consider what I have, and I think what you have too, to be retro. Yours is even older than mine. But to call it true retro, so maybe we should call it. Maybe there's a difference, and maybe we can get this thing started like that. I mean, we should start a movement. So we call stuff that's retro actually retro classic, and then what we just have is just retro. I don't know. Just throwing it out there, seeing if it sticks. But yeah. So I have a retro machine, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
What I consider retro, I think, is anything below Windows NT. Which is actually kind of weird because I think I make my marker of retro the software rather than the hardware. And the other weird thing is, even though I'm a diehard open source hippie and won't run anything but Linux, I have no desire to run an old version of Linux, but I love running old versions of Windows.
It's I'm with you, and I think it's a lot of nostalgia is because I don't know. I mean, do you have nostalgia for Red Hat 5.2?
No, not really.
Right. So all I have is pains installing it and everything. It's just bad memories.
I guess because back then it really was much, much harder to use.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Retro.
So we have two definitions for retro, and I just split my retro definition into two retro definitions. So now, wow, we're definitely fork bombing this, because we have retro for software and two different definitions for retro for hardware. So we have what I'm calling retro classic TM, and
retro chic.
Yeah. So, but retro software, I mean, I like it, and I agree with you. Although I don't know if I would just say Windows NT is retro. I mean, I want to lump in there Windows 95, Windows 95 SR2, Windows 98, Windows 98 with Plus, Windows 98 Second Edition. Just not Millennium. So I would lump in there Windows 98. Yeah, not Millennium. No, screw that. I'd rather try to install Red Hat 5.2 30 million times than run Windows Millennium.
While the Facebook Retro Computing Users group that I'm in will typically have slap fights over whether Windows Millennium was good or not, they also have shouting matches over whether retro means older than 10 years or not. But personally,
there is that.
Personally, that puts it in the Windows XP era. And
no, even beyond that. Actually, if it's 10 years old.
When I was in IT, I worked on a lot of Windows XP machines, so my hatred for that operating system is so deep that I will never have any nostalgia for it.
Okay. My hatred doesn't go that deep. I actually, it doesn't go deep at all. I did enjoy Windows XP, but I didn't really have to deal with all the problems that you dealt with. I was dealing with printer issues and fax machines and all that other stuff. I wasn't really dealing with problems with the OS itself. I actually hate Windows 2000 more than Windows XP.
Really?
Windows 2000. Oh yeah, yeah. So Windows XP was slightly forgiving on the driver end, and its safe mode was actually pretty usable. And you had system restore and things like that. I mean, it wasn't that bad. Windows 2000 though, that was like that was hardcore. If your drivers, screwed up for whatever reason, or you download the wrong ones, or you use the wrong drivers, and you try to force it to use that driver, forget it. It was over. It's giant middle finger. Windows 2000 was not forgiving whatsoever. And actually, that was an even more forgiving operating system than Windows NT. So, there's some NT system admins out there that really, you know what? I really think that those NT systems admin though would just grab the hardware that worked, and so then you have an okay experience with it. But if you had some other kind of hardware, some brand new hardware that just it barely, the drivers barely worked, or they were release 1.0 drivers, then you were gonna have a bad time. And Windows 2000, similar experience. Although I did like the user interface quite a bit. User desktop icons and things like that. I even like this little splash screen and the music and everything, the little chime, Windows logo chime thing. And I think Windows 2000 was one of the first ones to have a mouse shadow, which I really do like, and always enable it because I'm just like that. But yeah, Windows 2000 was a pain in the ass when it came to that. Windows XP was actually not too bad. But if we're talking 10 years ago would have been in the Windows 7 realm. So that would mean that people with Windows 7 are what considered retro. Windows 7, that's the OS right before Windows 10. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, Windows 8. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it feels a little strange to me. 10 years you would have seen. 10 years ago in 2010, you had early Core i7s. You had the I forgot. Oh boy, starts with an N. The code name for the Core i7s. The early versions, the first Core i7s that came out, the first gen. Those weren't that bad at all, and actually, I still have one, and it runs really well. It overclocks really well, and I haven't had a whole lot of problems with it. And by the way, if we're looking at 10 years, that would mean that in about 2 or 3 years, we're going to consider the Sandy Bridge Core i7 a retro chip, and I refuse to think that. So I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate online about the whole 10-year thing, but I refuse to think that a Sandy Bridge processor, which is a second generation Core i7, is retro. I just can't.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think Windows 2000 was my favorite.
Yeah? Please do tell.
It just worked. It had none of the features that I considered useless from XP. It was solid. Never had a driver issue.
So, I think that the reason you had a good time with Windows XP was probably because you didn't have a whole lot of hardware to run it on. I mean, I'm thinking maybe you may have played the safe part, safe route. I mean, did you have any graphic cards back then, and were you playing playing games? And
not really. They were typically hand-me-down machines, and I've never been a PC gamer.
Okay, so back in the Windows 2000 days, I was a PC gamer. I forgot what video card I would have had back then. Probably a Voodoo 3 or something like that. Probably a Voodoo 3. But I did my particular machine had 2 processors. It was a dual Pentium 2 400s. Yeah, dual Pentium 2 400s on a TN motherboard, something like that. I forgot. And a Sound Blaster like in Sonic or something like that, or maybe PCI 128. And the drivers were just driving me crazy. Drivers were driving me. Yeah. You would load one and it wouldn't work, and you would try to you would tell Windows that no, install those drivers anyway, and then that's when just things went to hell. I had a hard time with Windows 2000. Not only that, but it felt slow. I don't know why, but it felt really slow. At the time, Windows XP came out, and it had that native compatibility from Windows 98, so it still had it because it had 16-bit legacy code still in there, and so you could still use you could still use some legacy drivers and some legacy items from Windows 98 and make it run well on Windows XP, not Windows NT, Windows 2000, which was. I think it's NT5. No, wait. Yeah, that's right. So Windows 2000 is Windows NT 5.0.
And, when I see you, we're actually doing a video conference this time. When I see you talk about your experiences with Windows 2000, you get that 1,000-yard stare. That looks like you've seen things, man. You've seen.
I've seen things. You know what? I actually still have the box for Windows 2000. I don't want to get it. I don't want to get it right now and then just somehow get the mic unplugged and everything. But I still do have that box. I freaking hate it, man. But I can't get rid of it.
Well, we did want to talk about our actual physical retro rigs that we have right now.
Yep.
We consider retro. So what do you have? Why is it retro? What do you do with it?
So I have a Dell. Oh, everybody's gonna hate me now. What? He didn't make his own. I've been making my own machine forever, guys. So, yeah, it's a Dell. Dell XPS Dimension XPS T750R. So basically, what that translates to, it's a Pentium 3 750 megahertz. It has, I love the motherboard. It has a 440BX chipset that Intel made. That thing is legendary. It is rock solid. Haven't had any problems with it. It has a AGP slot, PCI, and ISA. So it pretty much has the Trinity that I need for retro gaming and all that. So what else does it have? It has I have 2 hard drives, 7200 RPM. But then you were so kind to give me one of those IDE flash card converters. So I'm running my operating system on one of those SD cards, and then my D drive, or my secondary drive, is on one of the spinning disks, one of the 7200 RPM drives. What else? Network card. Video card is a GeForce 6200 passive cooled, which you gave me. So thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is great. And actually, mine's the PCI version. I wish I had the AGP, but hey, I'm glad that I have what I have because it's worked really well, and I'm not gonna switch it. Besides, you gave it to me, so it's got some value. So yeah, passive cooled, so you can't really hear anything, no fans or anything like that to deal with. And my processor is also passively cooled, so I don't know how that thing hasn't blown up yet. It's mind-boggling that I'm running a Pentium 750 with just passive cooling, but it runs. So yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, and of course, the sound card. It's a Sound Blaster AW64 ISA for DOS gaming. Let's see. I think I put a DVD drive in there because it's the only thing I found. IDE DVD drive works well on DOS, so no problems there. That's it. 3 3/4 floppy drive. How about you, Chris?
Well, what have you ran on it? What have you done with it?
Oh yeah, what have I done with it? So we've let's see. I've ran Duke Nukem 3D, which is probably my favorite DOS game now. That and Descent. Descent is really fun. Descent 1. You know what? I haven't given any playthroughs at all to Descent 2 at all. Period. I've never played Descent 2. Which is kind of weird because I love Descent, but Descent 1's the one that I keep playing, and then we play together. So, yeah, it's Descent 1. Descent, and what else? I like Commander Keen and things like that. Probably Commander Keen 4. I like playing any kind of Apogee software that was released past the beginning parts. I mean, past Scott's the first one, the 80s, the late 80s Apogee games I don't really like much, but the early 90s and on I really enjoy. So anything Apogee put out, I play. Epic Mega Games, whatever they put out, I play. I have like 2 CDs that I purchased back then, and I still have it even now, that I purchased back when I was a kid. That has a ton of shareware games, and I love just loading it because it's the exact same interface and everything that I saw back then, and nostalgia's pretty powerful. And then what was the last question? Why?
No, just what have you done with it, and what have you ran? What have you ran on it?
And well, running games. My operating system of choice is Windows 98 SE2, which I don't think anybody would hate on. And DOS, some kind of weird version of DOS 7. It's between DOS 622 with some DOS 7 command com, and then we found that, what was that weird DOS command com that we found that was really neat? And 4DOS, that's great. So that's the command com that I'm running. Yeah.
There's going to be exactly 2 people that think that Windows ME was the better version.
Somebody will come out. You know what? Bring it. Fine. I want to hear you know what? I'm okay with it. Hit dislike on the podcast.
Change my mind.
All your reasons. I want to hear all your reasons. Also, I want somebody to have told me, and actually, you know what? Do it now. Buy a Sound Blaster and Sonic, okay, and install it on Windows ME with the creative drivers that came out when the Ensoniq came out. That's right. And if you can make that work with the original creative drivers, then you're awesome. How about you, Chris?
So I've had two in recent history. I'll talk about the one I have now and the one that I got rid of that I kind of miss. Currently, I have a compact Presario 5204 with an AMD K62 450 megahertz CPU. I think about 128 megabytes of RAM. And it's currently alternating back and forth between FreeDOS and Windows 98 SE. SE2. Is it SE or SE2?
I think it's SE. SE. Yeah, I said SE2, didn't I?
But
SE.
But it is running the unofficial Windows 98 Service Pack and the NT kernel stuff, and
are you running the X kernel and all that stuff to to modernize it? Yeah.
Honestly,
and that unofficial SP2 or something, or SP3.
And I've done the usual array of DOS games, Duke, Doom, but I'm also doing some unique things on it as well. For example, I really enjoy using FreeDOS and having that online. So I have the MTCP stack installed, so we can do internet-based things. I use it as an online streaming jukebox through MPX Play. It can still play digital media, not digital media. That's UCF. Digitally imported radio just fine from there. MPX Play is really cool because it's a DOS audio player, but it plays every format. It's still maintained.
Huh.
And I tried running Windows 3.1 on FreeDOS, but that did not work. The most unique thing I've done with it is I've ran NextStep on it. Actually, OpenStep. And I had it running as a fully functional OpenStep machine with all of the hardware working. What other hardware is in there? 3Com network card, because that's just easy to work with DOS. And AWE64 Value Creative Labs Sound Blaster, which I never had one of the all-64s as a kid, so hearing DOS games with better MIDI, it was like playing the games when they were new.
Yes.
What
Duke
else?
with MIDI.
Definitely. Of course, LGR will tell you that the Gravis ultrasound is the best for Duke, but I agree to disagree.
Well, yeah. Doesn't he run a Roland MP?
Oh yeah,
32 or something like that. Yeah, I mean
he has a MIDI tower.
Yeah. That's some hardware right there.
But yeah,
and he has some awesome satellites, I think, too. Some Rolands and. Yeah.
I had OpenStep fully functional, which for anyone that doesn't know, actually we did a podcast on NextStep and OpenStep. So if you don't know about it, go back and find that episode. We'll tell you all about it. But it was the precursor to what Mac OS currently is, and to have it running on actual hardware, it's kind of like a weird proto Hackintosh, if you will. And the machine I had before that was an IBM Aptiva 2137 that had an AMD K6 233 megahertz. And same type things there, DOS gaming. But I did run OS2 Warp on it. Didn't we do an episode on OS2? I don't know if we did or not.
I gotta check. I don't know.
Anyways, that was really fun, and that's really easy to do on IBM hardware because they used to ship their hardware with OS2.
So full compatibility and everything.
Yep. I couldn't get OS2 Warp to run very well on the Compaq.
Interesting. I wonder what changed. What does the Aptiva have that the Compaq doesn't have? And
honestly, I think I got everything working except the sound card.
Did you have a different sound card back then? Sound Blaster 16, right?
Yeah, Sound Blaster 16. It didn't have OS2 Warp doesn't have very good support for AWE64, but I did get that working under OpenStep.
Yeah, that's great.
So games and obscure operating systems, and I also ran some oddball forms of old Linux on it here and there, but that's never as fun for some reason.
5.2.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about that, but we have done a lot. Don't forget FTP servers. So we've done that with DOS.
Can I talk about how we play DOS games online?
Yeah. I'm sure people would want to know. I mean,
So
it's better than DOSBox.
so let's say you have a copy of Warcraft 2 or Doom or Duke Nukem or any of the old games that rely on IPX networking for playing a game on the local LAN, but you want to play with your buddy across the country. Well,
right, it's not in your local LAN.
Yep. IPX is not internet routable. That was pre-IP. How do you do that? What we ended up doing was setting up an OpenVPN server and an OpenVPN client set up to use a tap connection. So that works at layer 2 of the OSI model, and that means that it's like having two physical switches hooked up to each other. And so that transfers IPX packets. So you have your router dial into my router's OpenVPN server, and then that creates a bridge to my DOS network, and then it's as if we're on the same LAN. One of us starts the Doom server or Descent server, the other one just shows up, and it works great.
Yep. It does work great.
It's faster than physical connections were back then.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're using the local LAN. Absolutely, I love the way that it works. And if you were to just sit down and actually use it, if you were to go and go into multiplayer in any of these games, it functions pretty much the exact way that it did back then. There is no, and now you got to load this driver up. No, it's none of that. You go into multiplayer and you all of a sudden see Chris pop up. It's the exact same way that it used to work. I think we were playing different games. Duke was one of them. Descent, Blood. Yeah, absolutely. That worked really well. So yeah, and it's a great system. I'm so glad that you put it together, Chris. That's awesome. That definitely, between just, well, what would you have to do extra on DOS? You'd have to load, you'd probably have to load your network drivers and get an IP. That's it.
What do you mean?
Which is not hard.
Extra on DOS for what?
When you start DOS up, you have to make sure that you're loading your network card.
Right.
Yeah, your network card gets loaded on startup, and it captures an IP. Well, and that's all doable with like MTCP and things like that. It's just pretty easy stuff.
That's the funny thing. You don't need an IP.
Because that's right.
IPX
is IPX. Yeah. You totally said that already. Yep. You're absolutely right, but you do have to load your network card up.
Yes.
So there is that, but that's it. Yeah, you don't have to load your IP. That's absolutely right. But what's fun is loading your IP and then pinging stuff in DOS. It's fun. Or using, what is that wacky browser? That DOS browser. Arachnos or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we what we got to try is those like send mail things, and I want to send messages in DOS,
I've also, that will be fun. I have considered hooking up a DOS IRC client to a Bitlbee server. Bitlbee is an IRC server that can connect to other chat protocols, so you can connect that to Slack and Hangouts and other things like that. So that would be one interesting thing to do. I've also used DOS to telnet into BBS servers.
Yep. Didn't we run software for that? For Eric's his no wait.
Eric had his own. Eric had his own BBS server, and we used
his own BBS.
Decker 7 it was called.
Not
sure what a Decker is. get the feeling I don't want to know for some reason.
Oh, and you know what we got to try is, and we wanted to do a podcast at some point with our DOS rigs or with our retro rigs, the Novell stuff, and since we have an IPX network, then that should work pretty well. We should be able to see each other and everything.
Should be.
Yeah, I don't think Novell networks had. Oh boy, I'm gonna get some hate. But I don't know enough about Novell. I don't know if it had. I don't know if a Novell network could go out. I don't think it had a gateway. I'm gonna go with it didn't have a gateway, and then somebody's gonna write back it did. But I'm gonna go with it didn't. As I'm like 60% sure that it didn't have a gateway. Yeah. So I think it was all
I forgot to mention. My current rig has a Voodoo 2 3D graphics accelerator.
Man, you're so elite.
It's not as good It's not as good as that GeForce that you have, but I could not run the GeForce in mine because the power supply isn't powerful enough, and it's super proprietary to the computer.
To the combat.
And so I couldn't replace it with anything else.
You know what you could do is you could run 2 Voodoo 2s in SLI mode.
I tried it. I don't think they were exactly the same. And
the memory I think was a mismatch or something.
Yeah. And I'm not.
Yeah, I think you may have the 12 megabyte Voodoo 2 or something.
And I'm not gonna go and try to buy a new one because everyone is into retro rigs, and whenever you see eBay listings for vintage and rare hardware, you know it's going to be multiple hundreds of dollars for some piece of shit card just because it's old.
Tell me about it. I've been trying to. So every once in a while, as you know, I get that 486 itch, which is basically I've been wanting to build a 486 DX266 forever. And sometimes I get that itch that I really want to build it, and then I go online and I go on eBay and start sourcing out everything, and it's just ridiculously expensive, and then I kind of lose the itch. But I do get it like almost every other week, and so then I go back on eBay and see, and I want to build that one on my own. I don't want a system that's already built and some guy quote unquote optimized it. No, I want something. I want to build it myself. So I want one of those wacky small form factor AT motherboards and with just ISA. Actually, I would love a 486 PCI. I just I'm having a hard time finding those motherboards. With a good price, of course, cheaply. But I am finding a bunch with with ISA cards, ISA with Visa Local Bus, VLB, and I'm finding a lot of them that are all maxed out in cache. So the 256. Yeah, but yeah, I can't find a lot of 486 motherboards with PCI. That might be.
What did you think about the link I sent you to one?
Yeah, but wasn't it some kind of crazy price? I forgot.
No, I sent you a link to one that was about $35. It was some weird off-brand, but it was a 486. Could take a DX266, had PCI.
I'm gonna have to check that again. I forgot why I discarded it. I was like, no, not that one. I forgot though. I'll have to take a look. It is kind of weird to see a 486 with PCI on it, but that must be one of those later motherboards that came out right before or during the Pentium days, the early Pentiums.
Yeah, I think our best bet would be one of those weird off-brand ones from back then, because getting a proper Asus 486 board is. I'm not going to pay multiple hundreds of dollars for a 20-plus-year-old computer. There is just no way.
Yeah, you may have to fix capacitors. Batteries definitely busted, and it's not one of those little round batteries. I'm talking about like the real deal. So yeah, you may have to do a little bit of work there. Not only that, we got to get the right keyboard. We got to get an AT one, AT keyboard, the right case. I don't know, man. Damn it. Now I'm thinking about it and I'm wanting to build it again. 46, DX2, 66 with maybe the same sound card because our sound cards rock. Video card. That'd be interesting. I want a Diamond Stealth Multimedia video card, 2 megabyte, or maybe like a Trident, S3 Trident or something, Yeah, something that definitely wouldn't be able to run Windows 98 games well, but yeah, that's the time, that's the video card for the time.
I think I had an S3 Verge in my Aptiva.
Yeah. What happened to that thing?
When I moved to New York, I gave it away.
Ah, okay.
But
Well, I still have mine.
my retro machine collection was 2, and now it's 1.
Hmm. So now you need another one, the 4060X266. I still have my Trident video card and the Voodoo 2 that you gave me. Still have that one, 8 MB. So yeah, it'd be fun. And the Sound Blaster 16, still have that too. I just need to do it. The motherboard just got to do it. Just got to do it, dude.
Do it.
Just got to do it. Another one that I've been wanting to build is and people are gonna say I'm nuts, but I want to build a 46 SX 33 megahertz. So that's the one that I had when I was a kid. I learned how to use DOS and everything. It's pretty much the one that got me into computing. That was the one. I had a 286 before that, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And then I had a 8088, and that wasn't that big of a deal either for me anyway. Back then, it was just too primitive, and I didn't really like it too much. But when I got the 486 SX33, that's when and it had VGA graphics and everything, 256 color. That's when I was like, whoa, this is better than the Super Nintendo, and then that's when I really got into computing. So that's what I want to build. I've been trying to find one that it's a motherboard, special motherboard. Well, it's not that special, I guess, but so the 46SX that I had was soldered into the motherboard. So it was a soldered chip, and then it happened to have a socket that was for overdrives. So I have not found that motherboard yet, and I would really like to, along with my original case, but I have no idea what the model of the case is. I think it was made by a company that I think went defunct or something. It's called Magictronic, and Magictronic I had a Magictronic keyboard. I was all Magictronicked out, case, everything, and I think that was, but I don't remember the model or anything. And I've been trying to look for it, and I can't find it. So I would love to have that motherboard and case. If I ever found any of those, then the 46 is on.
Nice.
Yeah.
One day. One day when everyone drops the hobby, we'll still be into it.
Yeah. You think they will?
I hope they will. Of course, and again, it's not it's not very friendly for people like you and me that have fewer than 10 retro machines.
Oh yeah. You know what? We got to talk to that one guy, Victor Bart.
Oh yeah. Funny thing
Victor Bart.
Funny thing is, as much as we love the YouTubers, LGR and Victor Bart and Phil's Computer Lab and 8-Bit Guy, and as happy as I am for them that is how they make their living, which is fantastic. I think they're also partially responsible for the spike in price for old hardware.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't blame them in that. I think that's great what they're doing. They're bringing that nostalgia factor back, and I love their YouTubes. But yeah, I mean, sure, if you didn't have an LGR and everything, the prices would just be rock bottom, because I mean, it's old hardware, it actually was stuff to get recycled. People were taking apart Pentium Pros for their gold. So it was one of those things. But then this happened, and now a lot more people are into it. Which, by the way, Chris, did you watch that one LGR episode about that store that they went to before it closed in Texas, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they went into the store, and it had all of this hardware. It was everywhere. I mean,
38,000 square feet.
Stuff. Yeah. I don't know if it was a warehouse. I think it was a warehouse or something.
It was.
It's amazing. Yeah. So that was really neat. You know what? We should have done that. That would have been really neat to do, but I think they're closed now.
shall we wrap this one up?
Yeah.
We've
it was really fun talking about this. It's one of my favorite subjects. My retro machine is near and dear to me. So anytime that I get a chance to talk about it, it's fun.
Yeah, same here. And this one was fun. It was really easy to talk about too. We just blew through an hour like it was nothing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we should do more of these. It's fun.
Definitely. Wonder what the next one that we don't have to research could be about.
I don't know, but that emulator sounds fun.
It does. I tried to. You're talking about PCEM. I tried to install it today, yep. and I couldn't because there are no DOS binaries. I have to compile it, and compiling it requires some dependencies that I have to install, and then I ran into some apt issues, so I need to figure something out. Maybe an older version, or maybe running the Windows version through Wine. I don't know, but I'll figure something out.
You'll figure it out. In the meantime, I'll be running it in good old Windows.
Yep.
All right, Chris. This was fun?
This was fun. It was good recording with you again. It's been too long.
Likewise, yeah. Let's do it again soon.
All right. Good night.
Good night, Chris.